What's up, gamers? DreamcastGuy here, talking today about Final Fantasy VII Rebirth because I have just played 10 hours of the game itself, gaining levels, beating bosses, and of course, taming chocobos. And I have to say, I am completely brain melted. It is perfect. Now, I want to discuss the goods and the bads because this is just a project that to me is so incredibly important. The original Final Fantasy VII that came out decades ago is my favorite game of all time. I mean, it's just straight up perfection, from the themes to the universe to the magic, and to me, it is the reason I became a YouTuber in the first place. When I played Final Fantasy VII, it was so good, I went, okay, I am going to dedicate my life to video games. Rebirth is so good, I feel like I did when I first played Final Fantasy VII. I'm dead serious. It is that freaking good, but let's discuss. Hi, hope you're having a great day because I am having the best day ever. So please, if you could, give this video a like and subscribe if you haven't already. But now let's get into it. So as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I've only played the first 10 hours of the game itself, which has been the main quest, some side activities, some card games, and as of now, I'm pretty deep into the chapters. The game says I'm roughly 40% through the main campaign, and it is just, it's really cranking up. The plot line, the changes, the differences from the original to this are astounding, but I want to talk about the gameplay first because that's definitely what immediately grabbed my attention. I played hundreds of hours of FF7 Remake, and undoubtedly that had some incredibly good combat. Parrying blows, doing dodge rolls, unleashing your special attacks. I mean, it was a game that was pretty universally praised for how modern it was. Somehow, Rebirth feels better, and I think a lot of that comes down to the AI itself. So when you're playing this, of course, you're not alone. You have a three-man party, which you can choose of your entire team. So you can have like the long-range shooter, Barrett, the tough melee specialist, which is of course Tifa, or somebody that's more magic-focused like Red 13 or Aerith to actually back you up. But here's the thing that actually got me. Synergy attacks. You can do special strikes with your teammates that'll actually knock enemies over, do special magic hits, or sometimes just stagger them. And what's special about this is that once you start fighting, you can tell this is a sequel. The developers at Square Enix have already informed us that this is the second part of a trilogy, that we're getting this new remake compilation, and it does feel like Rebirth is a promise. It is telling you how much they can actually advance these established concepts, because as focused and tight and playable as Remake was, it feels better to beat smart enemies, to have smart teammates. They'll even adapt and do crazy stuff. Like something I've noticed a couple times is I'll be in a fight and I've got my main party members, of course, they're my squad who are doing attacks that I can directly command. But sometimes your extra teammates, the people that aren't with your party but are traveling with you and are in cutscenes, sometimes they'll just walk up on the edge of the battlefield and also start helping, just doing free attacks, and the enemy will adapt to that. Now, I want to talk about the trust system because this to me is so, I don't know, it feels like something they took from Persona, but it works so well. If you're playing with certain people more often, or talking to people more often, or if there's an optional objective of, oh, do you want to go into town and do this fun thing? A lot of times it will let you pick who you want to go with. And I decided to spoil Aerith throughout the game, and it's cool seeing how their bond grows, how their dialogue changes, how they fight better together. This is so cool to me to watch completely new dialogue that changes the element, the tone, the nature of some of these pivotal moments. It is amazing to me how different Rebirth feels from the original while also feeling better. Now, let me talk a bit about the story. Of course, this is going to be entirely spoiler-free because I don't know any spoilers. I mean, I've only played the first 10 hours. I don't know how this ends. I will do a follow-up video once I've seen the ending because I do want to talk about all the ins and outs of this game. But as it stands, I love the additions they've made. I always felt like the original FF7, especially the open world nature of it, when you're wandering across the world map, these moments evoked a lot of room for your own imagination, whereas obviously with the remake, they can now just show instead of tell. Going into these new areas, actually getting a chance to explore these open zones, collecting materials to craft potions or doing side quests and helping out Chocobo Bill and his kids, doing competitions, playing cards. The world feels more connected. I love the original FF7. This is not a knock against it, but sometimes it did feel like you're kind of just aimlessly wandering in your pursuit of Sephiroth, and that works well for it. Rebirth is a much more directed plot. Characters are perpetually moving towards that next objective, that next goal. Their encounters with Sephiroth, the hallucinations, the tainted people you see in robes. Everything feels much more logically in order, even compared to the original FF7 Remake. I loved Remake, but I always thought that it kind of felt like they were making up excuses to put so many different bosses and characters and stuff into Midgar to give us those plot elements. Now, because we have the entire world at our fingertips, it's so cool to see Casa del Sol and be driving around on a freaking Segway, to randomly be encountering side characters, seeing Reno and Rude drinking at a bar while you're inside of Junin. Every location is better, more beautiful, more advanced. I'm just so impressed. I want to talk about the mini games though, just real quick, because I think these are great. In each of the areas that I have visited thus far, there is a lot of side stuff to do. Mini games that have you racing dolphins, competing in marching competitions, or playing cards. This is Queen's Blood. Now, if you're a new Final Fantasy fan, you probably don't know this, but a lot of the Final Fantasies have typically had card games. 7, 8, 9, 14, I mean, these all have very deep, very intricate, and in my opinion, incredibly addictive card games. And Queen's Blood might be the best one yet. It's a game that has like this interesting math system to it where you're constantly trying to take over rows by multiplying attack power. It looks pretty simple. It is so fun. I love beating people and collecting cards, and there's even main quest objectives that can actually be influenced by how good you are at cards. That's cheesy, it's kind of schlocky, but damn if I don't love it. I will say that in its entirety of everything I've seen so far, I really only have two gripes, one of which will make sense and one of which will not make sense. So let me talk about my nonsensical gripe first that everybody is going to disagree with. I don't like the 3D menus. In the first game, you pressed start, you'd appear on like a blue screen, you pick your option, and that was it. Now they're trying to be fancier. When you press it, it's this bright characters in front of a clock. I don't know why, but this just looks bad to me. I think the menu is trying to be like fancy. I mean, it's the power of the PS5, so now with a solid state, they can have a full crazy 3D menu. It just feels too elaborate. It's cool that I can do crafting systems and talent tree upgrades and weapon customization and stuff like that. I like that I can do that. I just think it feels like it's way too much information. I wish that this was a little more simplified. And the other gripe I have so far is one that I've seen a lot of people complaining about, which is that performance mode totally sucks. This gameplay is all from the graphics version, where basically it's trying to pump up the resolution instead of pumping up the frame rate. In everything I've heard, you kind of have to do this. For some reason, the entirety of performance mode is just kind of muddy looking. It actually looks kind of downright blurry, which is confusing because this is a PlayStation 5 game. So I'm deciding to play it on graphics mode, which I never do because I do want to see those subtle bits of waving grass and facial animations and stuff. But as it stands, I love this game. But maybe my thoughts will change. I'm going to be doing 2 follow-up videos. I want to do a video when I beat the game, and I want to do a video when I've platinumed it, which apparently at 200 hours, maybe that'll take me a couple weeks. But I appreciate you guys watching this, and you know, you guys rock. I know my videos have been sporadic. Been dealing with, obviously, the death of my mom. Now my dad has stage 4 cancer, so I've been dealing with that. So if my videos have been different in mood, that's the reason why. I love you guys very much. And now I'm going back to FF7. I want to go have some good vibes. You know, life is short. Play the games you want to play. Thanks for watching. Like the video, subscribe, and keep dreaming. Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, you know, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.